Previously, he had been reincarnated into a new world alongside 6 other prodigies, each with their own skills. Thanks to his own as a master politician, he is able to overwork all of the furries within his kingdom, advancing their technology tenfold. Now, with everything settled down, he wonders what to do next, dreaming of one day taking over the continent. Episode 7. After being severely overworked by Mikogami, the furries decide to try and slip by his supervision by day drinking. As they drink, one furry girl offers Sarutobi some treats in hopes of her not reporting their day drinking to Mikogami. With her being in the Duke, Oslo's land currently, they talk about how nice their days are. Little do they know Mikogami is soon to take over their land and force them into even more work. Sarutobi, on the other hand, cares not about their lives, hoping she can continue drinking without working. After she finishes drinking, she heads to bed and takes a nap leisurely. One of the Beast Girls apologizes to Elch for having her drink so much, her feeling responsible for getting her wasted. Elch informs her that it's all right because she is a nuisance anyways. Melina, the child Beast Girl, urges Elch to leave the village as soon as they can, warning her of what may happen. Elch pays it no mind, him also being wasted, so he just lies down without a care. As he thinks about what to do, he asks Sarutobi what he thinks they should do, but he is shut up when she starts making out with him. With this being his first kiss, he gets beet red and wonders what that was all about. He then notices that Sarutobi has been sober this entire time, showing she knew they were putting up an act the entire time. She tells him that the best people are actually starving themselves and were only provided the food to manipulate them. Elch wonders why they would do this, so she decides to show him instead of explaining. Somehow she knows about an underground passageway under the house where she reveals a dark truth. Under the inn are various humans strung up by their legs, showing that it's their ploy to trick people into getting wasted. He wonders if the food they ate was poison, so he starts gagging. She assures him everything is all right. Then suddenly a soldier appears outside, introducing a knight named Jean. Not only does she excel in looks from the peasant villagers, but she also excels in her sword skills. She forces all of the villagers to welcome her to their village, flexing her authority. One of the soldiers then moves down the line, inspecting everybody, and eventually releases them. As they walk back to their places, the soldier asks Melina why she has dirt on her shirt. Jean then begins talking and reminds them of the law where they are forced to stay clean. Before we continue, let's take a moment to answer the question of the day. Who is the best villain in all of anime? Comment down below for a chance to be shouted out in the next video. Now, back to the recap. With such a gruesome law, Elch wonders how they could do such a thing. They then bend Melina down and prepare to start whipping some sense into her. As they do, her mom protests, showing a saddened face, but this is also against the law. With her being forced to smile at all times, they take her law breaking out on Melina. This becomes the last straw for Elch, so he tries to run out, but Sarutobi stops him once again. She informs him that although they are suffering, she has a plan to help them out. Because of this, they are forced to watch as Melina gets beaten to a pulp. After some time, she eventually comes outside and tells them to stop their attacks. With a shuriken in hand, Jean recognizes her as a ninja, asking if she is here to fight them. Sarutobi then proposes a deal to them, claiming that even with all of these soldiers, she won't leave uninjured. She proposes that she will spare them if she spares Melina and captures her instead. Jean agrees to her demands, so Sarutobi drops her weapons, allowing herself to get captured. Apparently, Sarutobi plans on letting them capture her in order to hopefully lead her straight to their base. They then lead her to some strange room and strip her down before torturing her. As she waits to be taken advantage of, she realizes that she could easily break out at a moment's notice. Before she does, Jean enters the cell and orders the soldier alongside her to go outside. He tries to stay to see her get stripped down further, but Jean forces him to leave. Now, with just the two of them alone, Sarutobi asks her if she thought that she would be enough to take her down. Meanwhile, Melina lies around healing from her beating with her mother and Elch watching over her. The mother thanks him for his help, but Elch shows hostility, revealing he knows about the torture chamber down below. He asks how she could do such a thing, so she begins explaining. With the Duke forcing them to provide offerings to him weekly in the form of a tax they are forced to loot from the travelers who come. Originally, the town had been a small community, but when the Duke entered, he changed everything. Not only did he advance the buildings, making it feel like a different place, but he also takes all of the money they make. With this being said, she asks him once again for forgiveness, telling him although her actions aren't justified, she had no other choice. She begs him to help her, thinking that he might have some kind of way to get her out of this situation. As this happens, Sarutobi is given all of her goods back by Jean, making her wonder why she is treating her nicely. Jean then explains her reasoning, telling Sarutobi that she knows her true identity. She tells her that she has a common enemy, the Duke Oslo. She wishes to take him down just as much as he does, her being unable to stand the laws he oppresses the people with. Oslo, on the other hand, is seen praising a new statue made of pure gold displaying the Emperor. With it being so perfect, he asks his servant to make him another one, but he protests. The servant informs him that in order to get the money to buy another one, they would need to take even more money from the already struggling people in his land. Oslo doesn't seem to care about this, however, telling him that the peasants should live to satisfy himself and the Emperor's needs. He then asks how his advancements on taking over the previous lord's castle, which was captured by Mikogami. With it taking over a month to march over there, he becomes enraged, asking how his people could be so useless. He begins apologizing and bangs his head on the statue, feeling like it's his responsibility to reclaim the Emperor's land. With no other options, he decides to use his strongest weapon, a fire sword that burns to touch. Back in the safer part of the world, we see Lyrule lighting a candle until a mysterious voice in her head begins speaking. It tells her that the 7 heroes will soon face danger, asking her to gather them. As she hears this voice, Oslo is seen throwing the weapon into the sky, causing a huge fire to erupt. The spear ends up heading straight towards the castle, but thanks to Ohoshi's technological advancements, she learns of its arrival before it hits the castle. To counter it, she sounds an alarm throughout their lands while trying to figure out a way to counter it. Eventually, she decides to fire their air missiles in hopes of it being enough to destroy the spear before it strikes. With both sides colliding at incredible rates, it's hard to know which will win, but soon after the collision, the spear is seen persisting forward. Ohoshi then recalculates the chances of saving the city and realizes her only option is to redirect the spear. Although it will be difficult, Mikogami explains that he is confident they can change its direction if they use their new missile. Thanks to this information, Ohoshi fires again, and this time, instead of destroying the missile, it changes it slightly to the side. They follow this up by adding one more, but the spear evades the diversion. Episode 8. Because the last missile missed the spearhead straight towards the capital, making all hope seem lost. Once it lands in the middle of the square, it destroys a large amount of things to start, but this isn't the end. It then summons Oslo in a fiery form, where he announces to the people that he is here to destroy them. He then uses a magical spell to encase a part of the town into flames, causing an uproar. While this happens, the men by Mikogami's side consider running away, but know nothing good will come out of betraying him. And suddenly Prince appears before the townspeople, claiming everything will be all right. With him previously fooling them into thinking he is some kind of god, they regain hope, showing how manipulated they are. Mikogami then informs his board that they need to go with Section 2 of the Emergency Action Plan, otherwise they will have 10x more work to do when they recover. With the men already being severely overworked, they start moving as fast as they can, knowing they need to save the city. Mikogami then calls Ohoshi and orders her to help him extinguish the flames, telling her she knows what to do. Meanwhile, the townspeople run in a panic until they are trapped by a falling flame board. They think it's their time to die, but suddenly Zest, the head knight captain under Mikogami, appears. He informs them that they have nothing to worry about, claiming they will make a comeback. The furries ask how they could possibly recover from this, but he simply tells them to believe in Mikogami. To hopefully counter the flames, Mikogami decides to head into town himself, alongside the other 7 heroes. Although his presence is strong, he has no real abilities in combat, making him turn tail when Oslo sends out his fire soldiers. He wonders what he can do to counter this, but knows if he doesn't let the people experience some despair, he will never be able to completely control them. He decides to put off defeating Oslo for now to cause more damage, and instead bring the injured to a safe zone. As this happens, Lyrule runs over to them in a hurry, informing them she knows how to take down Oslo. She explains that the lance is the source of the power, so they need to take it out. Upon saying this, Mikogami asks how she knows this, but she is unable to answer. With her getting inside information from the mysterious voice, she tells them that when Oslo appeared, she heard a voice telling her how to defeat it. She begs them to believe her despite her sounding crazy. Mikogami then informs her that he trusts her, acting like he's treating her nicely while hiding the fact that he has seen this mysterious voice talk to him as well. Following this, Ohoshi, the only useful member of the group, tells him that she is ready to send in their next attack. He thinks that if they just send in more missiles directly at the spear, it will surely destroy it. The others question this idea, saying they already tried to destroy the spear but had no such luck. He persists, however, claiming this is their only option remaining, showing they really are all useless despite their titles as the 7 heroes. Kanzaki, the most useless of them all, proposes an idea, but everyone ignores her. With no other option, Ioi decides to offer her hand, informing them she thinks she can slice the spear in half. Mikogami tries to stop her, but she doesn't back down easily, reminding Mikogami that they are all useless, so they should just let her handle it. To start, she decides to get drenched in water to counter the flames. Now with her wet, she prepares to rush into the scene. By combining her speed with the missiles, she grabs hold of it and dashes into the center. Although things may seem to be going good, she is still faced with defeating the various monsters in her path, so they think she will die here. Thanks to her plot armor, however, she is able to divert the direction of the missile just as he needs to do and get past them. She then uses the missile as a guide, allowing her to soar into the sky. Once the missile gets high enough, she turns off the booster on it and switches it to point down. She then reactivates it and uses it to get past all of Oslo's attempts at attacking her. This angers Oslo, so he begins throwing a tantrum, not knowing that his prized weapon is about to be destroyed. As he yells out in anger, Ioi takes advantage of the moment to send the spear into the heart of the flames, directly hitting the spear. This causes a massive explosion, destroying even more of the town in exchange for defeating Oslo. After the spear is destroyed, all of the flames begin extinguishing themselves, showing the town is saved. Meanwhile, Oslo is seen in his castle bleeding all over. With his body being directly connected to the spear, he ended up losing both arms, putting him in a sorry state. Lirul then heads into town to see the damage and all the souls that died. Now that the flames are gone, the souls float into the sky peacefully, making Mikogami happy that they can get back to work. He offers a hand to Lyril after seeing her power, hoping that he will one day be able to wed her. After exchanging an awkward handshake, Mikogami begins talking about the work they need to get done to fix this town, calling it a dump. He claims that with his leadership, he will not only bring this town to its past glory, but take down Oslo to claim his own land. With him being a war-hungry leader, he asks if she is ready to head back into battle. Before she informs him she is, she begins talking about the mysterious voice in her head. Mikogami asks more about this power, it being the power that had previously told him that he was a hero. Although she doesn't know much, she knows that thanks to its presence, she will someday be able to wield powerful magic. With this in mind, she asks him to let her take a break from the work and learn magic. Later that week, after getting back on their feet, Prince appears before the people, acting as if he was the one who saved them. Mikogami, on the other hand, calls Sarutobi, making sure she isn't flirting with any other boys while she is out collecting info. She hides her kiss to Elch and instead claims that she will go kill Oslo herself after hearing what happened. He then hangs up on her, demanding she get back to work until Sanada approaches him. He decides to instantly reveal Lyrul's secret to him, explaining that the voice possessing her told him they were heroes of this world. Although he is some useless businessman who runs a pyramid scheme, Sanada claims that he will try his best to save the village. He then wonders how they could possibly stand against someone like Oslo after seeing his magic. As he has these thoughts, Mikogami's next part of the plan begins with Zest approaching while armed with tons of guns. Episode 9. After this happens, Oslo gets filled with rage, calling them insects that hurt the Emperor's reign. Because of how enraged he is, he calls for his servant to gather all of the soldiers and prepare to march towards their area. With his present army clearly not being enough, he sends even more soldiers to attack. When Jean learns of this, she informs Sarutobi immediately, this being the perfect chance to undermine him. With the other soldiers marching through the snowy mountains to fight, they wonder if Oslo's judgment is clouded. The commanders even question his motives, wondering why he is going to such lengths to suppress Mikogami's advances. Although their march is tireless, they expect to arrive at the mountain fort and take a break. To their surprise, however, Zest is there waiting for their arrival, planning a counterattack. The commander decides to call a retreat, wondering how they could possibly have so many guns with so many rounds. As they run, Zest orders the rebelling soldiers to march towards the other army and pursue them. Despite the soldiers in the back dying as they speak, the commander knows if he dies, their entire march will be in vain. He tells the other captains his plan to regroup, hoping they can find a place to make a counterstand. While this happens, Oslo prepares all of his soldiers to his command. Once they arrive into the forest, they meet with Zest's army, preparing a counterattack. Although Zest's army is filled with guns because their cavalry has iron armor, even the guns don't stop them. This makes Zest think he will lose. But shortly after, grenades begin raining down, crushing even their highest-ranked soldiers. With Mikogami having predicted everything that has happened thus far, Zest is left in shock from how strong his opponent is. Meanwhile, Oslo prepares to head towards Mikogami's land, telling his thousands of soldiers it's time they make a comeback. As he gives his speech, Jean readies her bow, shooting it at Oslo. Somehow he expects it and stops the arrow with his bare hands. Jean then emerges and tells all of the soldiers to fight against Oslo, showing he has lost command over them. With all of his soldiers planning to rebel, these events continue to show that Mikogami is all-knowing. While this happens, the other nobles within his castle wonder if this will be their demise as well. With their towers being struck down by Ohoshi's drone fighters, they are left unsure what to do. Ohoshi demands they stand down. Unlike Oslo, the commander of this fortress admits his defeat. As this happens, Oslo's army rebels, losing his ownership of the castle he owns. Jean, on the other hand, goes to confront him directly, demanding that Oslo stand down. She tells him that there is no way of winning, so he ought to give himself up to prevent further damage. Even after hearing this, he shows no signs of giving up, striking himself with a fiery resolve. In the name of the Emperor, he reveals he will burn down everything here, hoping to take his anger out on the girls. To start, he summons fireballs and launches them full speed at the girls. Because of their training growing up, they are able to dodge most of the attacks, taking little to no damage. Sarutobi then rushes in from the back, while John rushes the front, causing Oslo to use unorthodox methods. He sends a fireball, but only hurts himself, destroying part of his castle. Sarutobi takes advantage of this moment to throw a flashbang, allowing Jean to get in close. She strikes him, but Oslo stops her advances with his fire magic, putting her in a pickle. He then strikes Sarutobi, but as he does, Jean takes advantage of the distraction to strike him in the back. Following this, Sarutobi throws a dagger at the chandelier, forcing him onto the ground. Despite all of these attacks, he is still alive, using his blood this time as his attack. He uses it to create a large-scale magic circle, summoning a huge pillar of flames. Somehow the girls escape while Oslo ends up burning himself along with the main tower of his castle. Meanwhile, back in Mikogami City, he continues as he has been doing, overworking the people and making Prince fool them into thinking he is a god. Once Sarutobi meets back with him, she reports everything that occurred. With one of the nobles still struggling to fight back their conquering isn't over just yet. She then asks how the town is doing, to which he explains it couldn't be better. One of the nobles who had previously been on the Emperor's side decides to just stand down and submit to Mikogami's ruling. His name is Marquis Arclide, one of the strongest commanders under the Emperor's reign. Mikogami and Sanada continue working, talking about what they should do next. As they talk, the girls enter the scene, including Prince dressed up as a girl. They laugh at his getup, calling him cute in the process. Episode 10. With everyone gathered, Sanaba talks about their plans for the future, claiming that despite taking out multiple areas in the Azure Kingdom, they are still unsure how they will treat them. They ask Mikogami for his advice, and he informs them they will never reach an agreement. He claims that the Emperor will never allow them to exist in peace, so they will need to continue fighting. He explains that when he met with a delegate from the Azure Kingdom, he acted nicely towards him, but he could tell he was just trying to fool him. With this being said, he proposes two options for them to go with. Firstly, they could seize Oslo's land and claim it as their own with the risk of getting an attack from the Azure Kingdom. And secondly, they can wait it out to see what they do first. He then decides to give all of them work to do, making sure they stay busy. Before he can, Kanzaki stops him in his thoughts, claiming she will only begin work again if he takes a break. She informs him that he has been working day in and day out for the entire time, so he needs to take a 5-day rest. She includes Ohoshi in this plan, reminding her how busy she has been during their time here. Everyone else agrees to this plan and decides to give Mikogami a break. After thinking about what to do during his free time, Mikogami decides to invite Ohoshi out on a date to explore more of the town. She tells this to her weird bear screen, where he informs her it is indeed a date, despite him not calling it. Because of this, she wonders what to wear, thinking she is the worst looking out of the girls. She considers turning him down, but the bear thing assures her to persist, reminding her of the other girls' advances on him. To hopefully make it a successful date, she approaches Aoi to ask for guidance. Aoi tells her that she has lots of experience dating, claiming that she will help her become the best kisses. With her having done her time in a brothel, she's sure that she will be able to turn Ohoshi into an indecent girl. She starts by urging Ohoshi to grab his balls to show she is the boss. Once she has his balls in hand, she claims that he will be forced to follow whatever she wants. Although she tried to give her advice, Ohoshi is sane enough to know that won't work. She then goes to ask Kanzaki about what to do, thinking she would have some advice. Kanzaki urges her to just be herself until she gets close with him. Once she is close to him, she thinks that the best method is to spike his drink and then do the deed with him while he is drugged. Upon hearing these naughty things, Ohoshi wonders if this is really the right way to go about it. She heads to the bath later that night, wishing she had some real advice, but then Sarutobi appears. She explains her predicament to her, but like the others, she gives trash advice. Sarutobi suggests that she trap him to show her strength, then start making out with him as he is trapped. With all of this advice, she heads to the town square to meet with Mikogami, deciding to arrive late to get him thinking. Before she approaches him, she shoots him with a love cannon, but he notices her presence, so he approaches her. She instantly gets embarrassed, hoping he didn't notice her love shot. He then invites her to head to lunch alongside him, drawing the attention of various people. With them being referred to as angels sent from heaven, they decide to change outfits before eating lunch. To start, he buys Ohoshi a Beast Girl outfit, which is followed by his own furry outfit. She notices how good he looks, so she instantly gets embarrassed. He calls her cute once he sees her, and then the two advance through town. While he walks, people notice them yet again this time, assuming they are nobles rather than angels. As they progress further into town, Ohoshi remembers the advice from Sarutobi, so she decides to make a move. She goes in to casually hold his hand, but ends up falling into his arms. He asks the dumb girl why she is so clumsy, telling her to be more careful around him. They then arrive at the lunch spot where Ohoshi gets a drink of some wine. She decides to move on to step 2, hoping to get an indirect kiss from Mikogami. She decides to put her drink next to his and grab it, but he grabs it before she is able to. This leads to her watching him drink, so she gets embarrassed yet again, looking at lips lustfully. When Ohoshi grew up, she was hated by her mother, calling her some worthless girl who can't convey her emotions. She treated herself badly her whole life, becoming a nerd until Mikogami lended her a hand as a friend. This inspired her to advance her knowledge around things more, starting with fixing his pocket watch. Once it was fixed, he presented her with a broken iPod, hoping to exploit her skills to the fullest. He would continue to bring her broken junk, making her wonder what his deal was. She thought to herself that there is no point in fixing all this stuff, but one day, something changed. When Mikogami went to give her something new to be fixed, he started thanking her. This led to her becoming a full-blown nerd, fixing everything that he brought her. She assumed it was his goods she was fixing, but in reality he was finding broken stuff and just getting it fixed for free from her. Then one day when he brought her something to fix, she told him that she can't fix his junk anymore, claiming that she wants to make her own things. That day when she walked home, she found Mikogami giving it back to a store owner, apologizing for being unable to fix it, with him previously claiming to fix everything, claim a profit from the man he is sad to be unable to exploit her anymore. Ohoshi, on the other hand, assumed he was doing all of this to keep her busy, not realizing he was just using her to make some change. Then suddenly she wakes up and finds herself lying on his lap next to the ocean, making her wonder what happened. He explains that she drank too much and zonked, so he brought her here to wake up to a nice scenery. This makes her realize he isn't too bad of a guy, so she builds the courage to ask for a picture with him like a fan. He accepts, and this ends up becoming her home screen. Mikogami, on the contrary, treated her well on this date for his own benefit like usual, hoping she will make him an even stronger gun to fight with. Once she arrives back to her lab, she instantly gets to work on this new weapon, hoping she will continue to satisfy him. Episode 11. After this, Mikogami gets back to work, sending Sarutobi out to gather more information regarding the Azure Kingdom. While all of this goes down, an epidemic strikes within their kingdom, causing various furries to fall ill. Milena is included in this group of ill people, causing the doctor to explain there is only one way to heal them: holy water. Upon seeing her pain, Prince wonders if there is any way for him to save these people. As this happens, a man enters the hospital and claims that Prince is a fraud, unwilling to help his people. He introduces himself as Serentius, the head of the medical group within the kingdom. He explains that he will be able to cure Milena if she uses this simple medicine that he has. He flings it around her and claims that it is forbidden for him to give it to her because he is against Prince's alliance. Once Prince overhears this, he asks the man how he could do such a thing, claiming that he will save them himself by using a miracle. Following this, Kanzaki enters the room, claiming that she will easily be able to cure all of the ill people. Although she has no holy water, She does have coal, claiming that it will be able to cure them. This causes the others to laugh, thinking that she is stupid to think a rock can save these people. As he leaves, he tells her that if she needs his help, she can always call for him at the cost of her body. Kanzaki ignores him and gets to work on Milena, stabbing her neck with some tool. This alleviates her pain, causing her to get a bit more time to think out how to cure the medicine. Prince then asks her if the coal can truly cure her, so she begins explaining her plan. She intends to use this coal and combine it with some other goods, making it seem like she really isn't using coal to cure them. With her relying on Lyril to help her in creating this medicine, she informs them that everything will be all right. To start, she heats the pan up and causes the smoke to erupt. By using her magic, she contains the coal into a pot and reheats it again. She does the same process to collect the smoke and put it in a pot again, this time making a liquid substance. Kanzaki then combines a bunch of other random ingredients and eventually succeeds in creating the medicine. With this medicine, she presents it to the furries, and instantly it ends up healing them, bringing hope to the people. Because she happened to cure all of them, the medical group is left without any profit. They decide to kidnap Kanzaki in order to learn her secrets to keep them all to themselves. Once they make these claims, Kanzaki appears before them, making their chase after her much easier. She then throws needles at all the men, knocking them out cold. When they wake up, they find her over their bodies, informing them she is here to hypnotize them. As she does this, the Sorrentius knows he will be harmed, but he cries tears of joy. Having a babe on his lap for the first time in his life, she tells him that she will make full use of his body, experimenting on it to her gain. Later that week, all of the patients end up getting fully treated, are able to walk around town again. Little do they know Kanzaki is actually a crazy person who enjoys torturing people. Meanwhile, within the Azure Kingdom, a man named General Neuro meets with some other nobles. They inform him of the current situation and ask him what his plan is going forward. He claims that everything that has happened thus far is according to the Emperor's plans. Despite this, he wants the 7 heroes to be dealt with immediately, ordering the man before him to kill them already. To assist this mission, he provides a servant of his as a means of helping him defeat them. With this servant holding the same power as Oslo, they wonder how it is possible for someone else to wield his power. On top of this, Neuro proposes to the men that he will give them 1,0,0,0,0 soldiers in order to make him all the more confident in taking down Mikogami. While this occurs, Ohoshi is seen making a new weapon alongside Mikogami. He tells her that her efforts have been well and that they will soon be able to take over the world. He claims that despite him being a high schooler, he is more knowledgeable than anyone in this world, showing her he plans on obtaining absolute control. Jean, on the other hand, practices her sword skills in preparation of another war. As she does, a large knight appears before her with his weapon in hand. He informs her that he was given specific orders to kill her, so she should grovel before his feet. She wonders why he is doing this, but knows she has no time to ask questions. The man then begins striking her, but thanks to her first-rate sword skills, she inflicts a wound on his face. This angers him, so he calls for the others to jump in on the fight, sending more attacks her way. He then informs her that he isn't who he seems to be, explaining he killed the man who previously wore this armor. He then tells his soldiers to have their way with her, causing them to rip off her armor. They then inspect her body and prepare to have the time of their lives with her. Right before they do, daggers fly in, killing them, revealing Sarutobi is here as well. She informs Jean that she has nothing to worry about, this being a part of Mikogami's plan all along. With her help, she is able to take down the knight alongside Jean, reclaiming their honor. Once they are defeated, they head to an underground area to find the secrets of the Azure Kingdom. They then find the golden statue of the Emperor, all torn apart in an altar. This makes Jean realize how wicked the nobles within the Azure Kingdom really are, so she vows to get her revenge. The two then head out to take down the nobles, but are stopped when Neuro's masked soldier emerges before them. Episode 12. Alongside the mysterious figure is Count Conrad, one of the highest-ranked nobles within the Azure Kingdom. Upon inspecting the broken statue, the mysterious figure gets enraged after seeing the state it is in. He asks how he could break such a valiant statue, showing he is devoted to the Emperor. He then reveals himself as Oslo, previously thought to be a dead man. Following this, he killed Count Conrad, informing him he will never let someone who diminishes the Emperor to live. After he does this, they notice a gem embedded in him, so they try to run, but he is too quick. By utilizing his flames, he forces them into a panic, all the while taking out the soldiers outside the fort. They then head back to their lands, reporting what happened to the others, wondering what to do. After some talking, Sarutobi realizes they have nothing to worry about, informing Jean they need to pick up the pace. As they continue down the path and escape, Oslo lets out more of his powers, proclaiming he is the strongest in the world. He claims that he can be the Emperor's right-hand man and help him become the Emperor of the entire continent. While he makes these remarks, a missile falls down on him at full speed, ending his pointless struggle. The girls witness this and realize just how mighty this power used on them is. Jean thinks that it is Oslo's power, but Sarutobi explains that this is all the power of their nation, showing her how powerful they really are. Not only are they able to defeat Oslo with ease, but she claims that they could wipe the Azure Kingdom off the face of the planet if they pleased. With this containing such a large explosion, even the people of the Seven Light Kingdom are able to see such a display. Mikogami, on the other hand, is seen praising Ohoshi's efforts, thanking her for everything she has done so far. Although he just destroyed this fort, he tells her that this isn't the end of their power struggle, but rather the start. Mikogami plans on using this as a means of forcing the Azure Kingdom under his stead, with hopes of ruling over the entire continent. After he says this, Ohoshi realizes just how great Mikogami really is to take on the burden of ruling everyone in a fair manner. This impresses her, so she grabs his hand and proclaims her feelings to him. She informs him that nobody works as hard as he does, so he should be proud. Then later that week, all of the soldiers gather in the square to listen to a speech from Prince. He opens by welcoming everyone before him, accompanied by the other heroes. He informs them that they will now get started by sharing their divine revelation to the people. Prince introduces Mikogami to the stage and allows him to work his magic. He announces that he was behind the massive explosion nearby, claiming that it was the power of their god. With such a large display of power, he proclaims that now all of the other nations have submitted to their kingdom. He also includes that he doesn't intend to rule over them, but rather provide a place where they can live out their dreams. In order to do so, however, he needs to move their religion into the form of a nation. He explains that by creating a nation, he can start a republic where all of the other kingdoms are under his steed. With no ill intentions, he informs the people that he wants them to be able to live their lives to the fullest. After saying all of this, he asks them to join him on the journey to creating a nation, promising to make their lives better than ever before. At the cost of this, however, they may have to fight, so he asks if they have the resolve to defend their new nation. Immediately after, the people begin cheering Mikogami on, causing him to announce their new nation's name. He tells them that the Seven Light Faith is now going to be called the Elm Republic. Then suddenly a large flame erupts behind the people, causing the ceremony to come to a halt. They evacuate all of the people while Mikogami stares down Oslo, still living and breathing. He wonders how he's still alive despite blowing him to smithereens multiple times. As he thinks of what to do, Oslo becomes mad, using the gem's full power to become more like a demon rather than a human. Then, as the tale once said, the evil dragon appears before them in the flesh. With the gem as the core, it beats rapidly, showing it has now taken full control of his body. Without fear, Aoi and Sarutobi run into battle, intending to show off their strength to the others. As you can expect, however, they get pushed back within an instant. Upon displaying his mighty power, they wonder if there is any way to possibly take him down, realizing neither physical or magical attacks work on him. Then, without a second thought, Mikogami begins firing his gun at Oslo, causing him to weaken with every hit. Before he is taken out, however, he jumps and rushes Mikogami, thinking he will beat him. This only allows Mikogami to get a perfect shot, however, so he nails the gem embedded in Oslo, removing the demonic control. Oslo then regains his senses and asks Mikogami if he is the leader of the group. He tells him that despite him acting like the leader, he is just a fake, saying he has no real power. As Oslo begins to disappear, he tells Mikogami that one day his fake power will crumble before the Emperor. After this happens, we pan to a couple of girls who are just as fine as Mikogami's entourage. They talk amongst each other of their plans, revealing they intend to change the world. Nuro, on the other hand, heads to the site of the fort that the bomb was dropped on and realizes this isn't human power. Although he has defeated Oslo, Mikogami still gets haunted by his memory when he sleeps. He realizes that he is just an imposter with no real powers compared to the others, wonders if he will truly be able to lead the people, wishing he had some sort of overpowered power like the others. He knows, however, despite this, he needs to continue forward until one day he achieves the power he is looking for.